Sean, welcome to Network State Conference. Just, introduce people.
Yeah, so Jeremy and I started Circle in 2013. We were just obsessed with this idea about democratizing and sort of decentralizing global finance. We've tried to execute on the vision. Probably should have been obvious in 2013 that we needed something like a stable coin, but it was actually 2017 when we figured out that that's what we needed in order to build everything else that we were interested in.
What was the number one thing that you guys were thinking about at the time you started work on USDC?
In order to enable global payments that didn't pause at borders and that were almost free, we needed some representation that was stable and capable of moving over internet rails. So the idea was multiple chains, not to be religious about any one particular chain, but to rely on blockchains to deliver value. That in itself was really a building block so that we can enable these other use cases.
So why don't you talk about your new thing, Catena?
One of the nice things about machine native money is that it's very reliable for machines to use it. When we have these orchestrated workflows with LLM intelligence involved in making decisions, then as those workflows become economic actors, they need to be able to transact. But simply tacking AI intelligence onto the edges of, say, a credit card flow, it is not reliable. It's really difficult to make those, even just the simple tool calls, very reliable. And so when you take a 5 to 7 to 9 party system and you add a couple more parties on the edges of it, then it's different than taking a stablecoin point-to-point transaction. And agentic workflows are very good at signing cryptographic messages. And then all of a sudden, you sort of unlock the capability of transacting in fractional amounts, in like streaming payments in real time, all these things we've been talking about for 20 years, but have really never been economically possible or technically possible until we have the combination of machines becoming economic actors and stablecoins. My thesis is that in the future, the only actors that we will trust with our money and our assets, and the only actors that will be capable of generating competitive returns will be agentic.
What do you think about startup societies, network states? Where's Sean on that? Have you given any thought to that?
Many of the things that even 20 years ago were done in a confined sort of geo space, they're online now. We're already in these multiple online societies much more than we participate in the physical space that we're in. So the next step beyond that is, well, if we're already in these other spaces, then transforming that to the physical space that we actually want to be, and forming actual real world corollaries to where we're already spending our mental time online today.
What would be your ideal community if you could fork Sean and clone yourself and build something?
For me, it's about hyper-personalization, transparency, and trust that doesn't require relying on other human beings. If you can code those things cryptographically, and so trust enforced by software is just a fundamental theme. I mean, it was inconceivable 6, 7 years ago that Stripe would create a payment chain, but it has flipped over the last few months where now people have a lot of interest in hearing about various forms of usage of stablecoins, not even just as a currency, but as programmable money and as sort of a platform to build on. There's the CryptoX AI piece, which I think has been maybe a little overhyped, but there's reality there in combining these two technologies at the same time.
In a sense, this is another kind of parallel financial system, which is it's the machine economy that is booting up right now.
The web was an amazing sort of culmination of many, many partnerships and technologies and so on, but it also steered in certain direction that was not the healthiest, like 5 companies that matter in terms of controlling identity. So the next version of this, when we are using agentic interfaces, it ought to be much more broadly distributed.
Awesome. Great. All right. Thank you very much, Sean.